Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. In this video we're going to be drafting the basic pants. First you're going to tie a rope around the smallest part of your waist and then you're going to measure around your waist. Then you're going to measure around the widest part of your hip and you're going to move that tape upwards and downwards, making sure it passes freely around your hip. Then you're also going to measure your crotch length. So you're going to place your tape making sure it touches the rope at your back, and then you're going to measure to the front of the rope. Then you're going to measure the length of your trouser from your waist to your ankle. And then you're going to measure around your knee and also around your ankle. Then sitting on a flat surface, you're going to measure from that rope to where your bottom touches the chair, and it will be your crotch depth. Now we're going to start with the calculations needed. So let's say your waist measures 24. You're going to divide 24 by 4, which is 6, and you're going to minus 1/4 of an inch from 6, which will give you 5 inches and 3/4, and that will be our back waist measurement. Then you're going to add 1/4 of an inch to the 6 inches to give you 6 inches and 1/4 for your front measurement, for your front waist. We're also going to do the same thing for the hip. So let's say your hip is 38, you're going to divide 38 by 4, which is 9.5. You're going to subtract 1/4 of an inch from 9.5 to get your front hip measurement, and then you're going to add 1/4 of an inch to 9.5, which is 9 3/4, and that will be your back hip measurement. So for the front waist measurement we have 6 1/4 inch. For the back waist measurement we have 5 inches and 3/4, and then for the front hip measurement we have 9 1/4 of an inch, and for the back hip we have 9 inches and 3/4. You're going to place this measurements on the side because we'll be needing them to draft the pants pattern. So at the top of my paper I just drew a line that is 4 inches from the top of the paper, and I also divided my paper in two. One side will be for the front. Now at that line I'm going to place down the waist to the ankle measurement, which mine is 40, and I'll squared a line on both sides. Now for the top of the paper you're going to place down your crotch depth measurement. Mine is about 11 inches, and I'm going to square 11 inches on both sides of the paper. Once that's done, I'm going to take the crotch depth measurement and divide that by 3. And I'm going to place 1/3 of that measurement from the crotch line towards the waistline and square that line on both sides as well. Here I'm just going ahead to write down what each line is for. So I have my crotch, my hip, and my waist measurement. Now to get the knee line, I'm going to divide from the crotch to the ankle by 2. Mine is about 14.5 inches, and I'm going to minus 1 from that, which will give me 13.5 inches. So from that crotch line I'm going to measure downwards 13.5 and square that on both sides. So here I'm just writing that this will be for my front pants and the other side will be for my back pants. Now we're going to work with the calculations we did. At the hip line we're going to put the front hip measurement, which mine is about 9 1/4, and I'm going to square that line on all 3 lines. So on the waistline, the hip line, and the crotch line, and I'm going to draw a line. Now I'm going to divide that line by 2, mark that point and label that point X. Now I'm going to take the measurement of the crotch line, and then I'm going to divide that by 4 and place 1/4 of that front hip measurement on the crotch line. And then I'm going to take my curved ruler and connect that point to the X point. Now doing this, we've already created our front crotch line, so I'm just going ahead to correct the lines. Now I'm going to take the whole crotch measurement and divide that by 2 and subtract 1/4 of an inch from that measurement. And then I'm going to place that measurement from the crotch line, from the inseam towards the side seam. And I'm going to square that line from the top to the bottom of my paper, to the ankle, from the waistline to the ankle. And this line will help create the leg of the pants. Now to get the leg of the pants, I'm going to take my ankle, which is 14, divide that by 2 and subtract 1, which will be 6 for the front. And then I'm going to add 1 to 7, which will be 8 for the back. Then I'm going to place 1/2 of that measurement on both sides of that line. So I'm placing 3 inches on both sides. And I'll repeat the same thing also for my knee. So if my knee measures 17 inches, I'm going to divide that by 2, which is 8.5. And I'm going to subtract 1 from 8.5, which will be 7.5 for the front leg, and then 8.5 plus 1, which is 9.5 for the back leg. So for the front leg, I'm going to divide 7.5 by 2, and I'm going to place that measurement on either side of that line. And then I'm going to connect the ankle to the knee. And then I'm going to extend the inseam line upwards a little and then use my curved ruler to connect it to the crotch line. At the side seam, I'm going to use my curved ruler also to connect the line from the knee to the crotch line on the side seam. Now you want to play around with your curved ruler so you get the lines looking right. Now for our front waist measurement, I have 6 1/4, and I'm going to add 3/4 of an inch to that measurement for the dart. So from the center front, I'm going to mark 7 inches and 1/4. I'm going to mark 7 inches, and I'm going to connect that 7-inch point to the hip line with a curved ruler. And then I'm going to connect the hip to the crotch line and also correct my lines. Once that's done, we've completed the side seam. So now to mark the dart from the center front line, I'm going inwards by 3 inches, and then I'm going to mark my dart, which is 3/4 of an inch, and then find the midpoint of that 3/4 of an inch and square a line from the waistline downwards. And from the waistline, I'm going to mark my dart at 4.5 inches, and then I'm going to connect that to my 3/4 of an inch line at the waist. Now the center line is going to be our grain line. Now to complete the side seam, I'm going to go up by 1/4 of an inch at that waistline, raise my side seam higher a bit by 1/4 of an inch and connect that to the waistline. Once that's done, we're done with the front and we're going to move to the back. Now, working with our measurements also, our back hip measurement is 9 inches and 3/4. And from that center line, I'm going to place 9 inches and 3/4 at the crotch line and also at the waistline. And I'm going to square that line upwards. Then I'll find the midpoint of that line and mark that point X. Then I'm going to take the measurement of my back hip and divide that by 2. And then I'm going to place 1/2 of that measurement on the crotch line. Now I'm going to divide my waist measurement by 20. So mine is about 1.5 inches, and I'm going to add 3/4 of an inch to that and place that from the center back towards the waistline and square a line connecting from that point, passing through the X line to the crotch line. And then I'm going to take 1/20th of my waist measurement, place that on that line from the waistline upwards. Then to complete the crotch, I'm going to draw a 45-degree angle line, and on that line I'm going to mark 2 inches, and I'm going to use my curved paper and then complete my back crotch line. Now it's a bit messy here because I made a mistake the first time I was drawing the line, so this is the correct way to do it if you're following this tutorial. Now at the top of the center back waistline, I'm going to put my back waist measurement, which is 5 inches and 3/4 plus 1 inch for that, and I'm going to angle that point till it touches my waistline. Then I'm going to use a ruler, square that line, and then I'm going to place my dart placement, which is 3 inches, and then I'm going to mark 1 inch for my dart and then find the midpoint and square a line from that waistline downwards. And on that line I'm marking 5.5 inches for my dart and drawing my dart leg. Then I'm going to use my curved ruler and connect my hip line at the side seam to the waist. Now to complete the side seam of the back, I'm going to raise the side seam by 1/4 inch like I did for the front and connect it to the center back waistline. Now at the crotch line, I'm going to take the crotch measurement and divide that by 2 minus 1/4 inch, and I'm going to place that measurement from the back inseam towards the side seam, and then I'm going to square that line from the waistline to the ankle line. Now I'm going to take my back ankle measurement, which is 8 inches, and I'm going to place 4 inches on both sides of that line. And then my knee measurement, which is 9.5, I'm going to divide that by 2 and place 1/2 of that measurement on each side of my knee line. And then I'm going to connect my ankle to my knee point and then extend that knee line upwards towards the crotch line. And then I'm going to use my curved ruler to connect from the crotch point to the knee line, creating my inseam. Then I'm going to do the same thing also for the side seam. Like I said before, play with your curved ruler until you get your desired shape. Once that's done, I'm going to mark my the hem of my pants. So the hem of my pants is about 2 inches. So I'm going to mark that at the back and at the front, and then I'm going to draw that line out. And then I'm going to fold my paper along my ankle line. Fold my paper along my ankle line towards the back of the paper. And then I'm going to cut out my pattern, my front and back pattern. Here I'm just folding my dart and cutting out the waistline of my pattern. Once you're done cutting out your pattern pieces, this is what your front and back pants should look like. Now if you want to do, this is a trouser pattern. If you want it to contour around your thighs, you might want to reduce the crotch line at the back by a ½ inch and go up by ¼ inch and blend that to the crotch line. And at the front, go up by ¼ inch and blend that also to the front crotch. Now once that's done, I'm going to work my inseam for both front and back pattern. Work that inseam to the hemline and then correct my pattern. If you find one is longer than the other, mark that point and then do the same thing also for the side seam. Place front and back patterns together and work your pattern along the side seam from the waistline to the hem. And if one is longer than the other, mark where the front touches the back and then use your ruler to connect that point to the inseam or to the side seam, just like this. Once you're done with that, you're going to go ahead and cut out the excess. Now we're almost done, but we're going to check our crotch length to make sure it matches with the measurement we took. So for my front, I have 12 inches, and then for my back, I have 12 inches plus my back crotch gives me 27.5. Now the measurement I took gave me 28. This is how you get your crotch measurement. Now I'm taking the measurement of my back, and my back is about 15.5. I need it to be 16 inches. So I'm going to slash along my hip line, and then I'm going to take a piece of paper and place it underneath my pattern, and then I'm going to spread my pattern by ½ inch because that's what I need to complete my back crotch measurement. So I'm going to open by ½ inch, tape that down, and then straighten my crotch line. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to cut out the excess paper and then straighten my grain line. So here I'm going ahead to measure my crotch measurement, making sure it measures 16. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.